Everybody, thanks much for joining us. Some of you are watching live, some of you are watching a recording of this, but nonetheless, good to have you with us. My name is Erik Hatch of Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching, based out of Fargo, North Dakota. And we try to bring information, a webinar almost weekly right now. We're so excited to share the goodness that's happening in our world. I'll give you perspective and scope. I got into real estate in 2006. I did it part-time for 4 or 5 years. In 2011, I left my career in ministry and I went into real estate full-time. Had some good success and continued to find my way through it, and started a team in 2012, and it all came crashing down in 2013. I literally got kicked out of my brokerage and almost everybody on my team left me. Then we rebuilt from there, and I went from 13 people down to 3 people overnight, and we rebuilt, and now we're a team of 45 right now. We're one of the top real estate teams in the country with what we're doing, on pace to sell almost 900 homes this year, again, out of Fargo, North Dakota. So we're pretty pumped about that. About 4.5 years ago, I started a coaching company. In fact, one of my first coaching clients is on this right now. So John Wade, what's up, buddy? John is a superstar agent out of Steamboat Springs, Colorado. But I started coaching people about 4.5 years ago because I was getting coached, and it was obviously valuable to get coached. And then after getting coached, I recognized that I had a passion to try to influence people. And so you can see right here, it says redefining how people treat people, and that's at the core of our business. We want to impact people on the leadership and team aspect, and then we want to be better for our clients, period. And so in the office right over there is Robbie T. A lot of you know him. He is one of the most influential people in the real estate industry, bar none, hands down. And he and myself have just had the opportunity to influence and share some great things. And one of the things that we get to talk about, excuse me, it's not COVID, I promise. One of the things that we get to talk about and that we get to get excited about is the idea of, well, what is it going to take to sell a house? And in fact, not just to sell a house, but for you to maximize your dollars. How are you going to make sure that you're not doing more work for less money? Because here's the pinch, I think, is that in our industry, every day it's harder for us to get a high amount of commission. It's just more difficult. There are more competitors, there's discount brokerages, there's people coming in, gouging opportunities. And I got to tell you, I think that that's not going away anytime soon. And it forces us to be better, and it forces us to sharpen our swords. And we can't just do what we used to do. We have to be able to enhance it and articulate it in order to justify a higher priced transaction. So I'm going to show you what we do at Hatch Realty. We charge a 7% listing commission, and we get it most of the time. Again, we're going to sell 900 or so homes this year. Of that, 40% are going to be listings. So we'll sell 360 listings. We'll sell a listing a day for the entire year. Our average listing commission, if I don't count new construction, because new construction we have to do at a little bit of a discount, we average almost 3.5% on our side. And in fact, I'm constantly challenging my team to figure out how can we get more and more and more. I have a bunch of agents that got handed the opportunity to take deals on the listing side, and we didn't train them on how to go and get 7%. They instead just got 6%, our industry average. And because we didn't train them, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're leaving so much money on the table. And I watched that margin start to shrink from 3.5% average down to like 3.3%. And then I thought, man, out of 360 deals, our average commission is $6,600. The difference between a 0.2%, I mean, we're talking, what is that? $1,200? $120. $120. My math is totally off. Now I got to go to my calculator. So let's go $600 times, if they take less percentage, yeah. I'm not even going to do the math. Look at that. I'm getting all math kitty wampus here because I'm just so excited about this opportunity. And I realize how much money people are leaving on the table by choosing to work harder and not smarter. You go and get more things at the same percentage. So I know there's going to be some massive objections that you hear all the time. Please put those in the chat box if you're watching live. If you're watching a recorded version of this and we don't cover it, shoot us a message and we want to help answer that. So please let this be a conversation and not just a presentation. But I am going to share my screen because I'm going to walk you through the steps that we do to get ourselves 7% almost every time. So let me share my screen here and we will get rolling. All right, I think we are here. Let's present. Okay, first is this. I want to make sure this isn't lost on you. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. Just because you can charge more doesn't mean that you should. If you are in this for the greed of it, I think that instantaneously I'm going to be turned off, because if you're saying, how can I just make more money? That is missing the point. Because let's go back. How to charge more and over deliver. Those are the two elements in this that matter so much. By the way, look at that picture, how much more hair I have. There's a distracting piece. But how to charge more and over deliver. How to charge a 7% or a premium commission and to make sure that you over deliver. The only way you should charge more is if you over deliver. It is the only way. It is the only way. Otherwise, you are a greedy, greedy son of a gun. And I'm not sure we're going to vibe very, very well together. And so all this is about over delivering on what we do. And there are 3 key areas that we're going to cover in this webinar as I go on and talk about all these exciting things. 3 places you need to win at in a listing presentation. Please write these down because they are huge. They are fundamental and foundational to how we do all this. Build the relationship, set the price of the home, and battle for commission. Some of these ideas that I have, we've figured out on our own. Some of these other things that are in here, I've ripped off from other people. I'll give credit where I remember where it came from. I'll try to point to that, but know that all of the things that I'm going to share with you are a hybrid of what I've learned from other people that I've ripped off and duplicated and what we figured out on our own. This list of 3, this is an Erik Hatch original, I think. Building the relationship, setting the price of the home, and battling for commission. Let's dive in. We're building the relationship. You need to know this. I'm going to stop sharing for just a brief moment because I want to explain to you before you write it all down. I asked a Facebook question about 1.5 years ago. I said, realtors, please don't answer this. This is just for all my non-realtor friends. If you are going to look to sell your house, you own a property and you need to get rid of it, you're going to look to sell your house. What's the most important thing that you look for when you hire a realtor? Number 1, you work with an agent that has all the awards, like all the bling. They're the most highly touted, recognized agents in your area. Number 2, that you work with somebody who has a proven system to get you the most amount of money in the least amount of time. Number 3, that you work with somebody that treats you as though they are their only real estate client. And then I watched the answers come in. A lot of people said, well, I want all of them. Of course they do. Remember, the first one is award-winning. Second one is the great system for money and marketing and time. The third one is just about service. 80%, if not more so, said C, or number 3. They said service is what matters to them. That if they could choose, the most important thing is to be treated as though they're the only client. Nobody said the first one. Nobody said, I want this person who is the most award-winning, highly touted realtor. That didn't matter to anybody, at least as the most important. The proven system to get the most amount of money in the least amount of time with great marketing, that was number 2 for people. It was like 15 or 20% of the time, but on over 100 people surveyed on Facebook. That like doesn't make it official, but it sinks to the narrative that I've always believed. And that is that this is a relationship game. No matter how you do it, no matter what you're trying to do, most of you are going to say to me, Erik, what is your listing presentation? What is this fancy thing that you do? And I'm going to show you soon that is actually, I think, an irresponsible way to do it. Your job, the moment you meet with a seller, is to win the relationship and to make them feel as if you're the only client. A and B matter. As you see on the screen, A and B matter. These are important things in working as a listing agent, but it's the relationship. And if you're working with a have not met, somebody that you don't know, you got to take the time. If you're bragging saying, I do a 45-minute presentation, top to bottom, 45 minutes, never anything longer than that, I'm going to say you are not doing the relationship building like you need to. And building the relationship is fundamental. The only way you're ever going to get a higher listing commission and the only way that you are going to be a referable person is if you build the relationship. And so I don't believe you should ever give a formal listing presentation. You just shouldn't. I walked in one time, this was back in 2012 or 2013. I had my assistant, her name's Kim. Kim now is a team leader with Keller Williams out in Maryland, doing really awesome things. I'm super proud of Kim. She referred me to one of her coworkers. She was in the Army National Guard, and so this was somebody else that was in the Guard. And I went and met with her coworker, and I pulled up my iPad. And as I pulled it out, I'm like, okay, here's the presentation. And I open it up and I go through this whole thing. I'm like, any questions? And he's like, no, I don't think so. And then I'm like, okay, you ready to sign this listing agreement? Here we go. And he's like, no, I'll get back to you. That happens a lot, right? Somebody will say, I'll get back to you. And so I went back to the office. And by the time I got back to the office, Kim was like, Erik, we need to talk. I'm like, what's up? She's like, what did you do? I'm like, are you kidding me? I crushed it. I just gave him this listing presentation that was unbelievable. And she's like, no, you didn't even bother to get to know the guy. All you did was talk about how great you are and all the things that you're going to do. And I'm like, oh, crap. You are so right in that. And so I don't think a formal listing presentation is the way to deliver. Now, there's things you need to go through, and I'm going to show you what our actual listing presentation looks like. But if that is the core of what you're doing, you are just in the hurt bag, my friends. All right. So here's what you need to know. Zillow did a survey a couple of years ago on what a seller's biggest stresses are and their biggest worries. It's in this order. Uncertainty is number 1. Interruptions are number 2. And money is number 3. We all think that it's money. We all think that that's the most important thing that a seller is worried about. And in most situations, that is blatantly wrong. Uncertainty of what's going to happen. That is the biggest. Is their house going to sell? What are they going to have to do to fix it up? When is this domino going to fall so that they can move? Because their entire life is on pause or on hold. And if we don't take the time in building the relationship to understand their anxieties and their worries, we aren't speaking to them with the right kind of authority. We aren't speaking to them with the right kind of connection. Uncertainty and then interruptions. How often are they going to have to clean their house? When are all the showings going to happen? When do they have to rush their kids and their pets out of there? When are they hosting Thanksgiving dinner and somebody wants a showing? All these things. That all matters before money. And although I can say this to you right now and you're like, Erik, that makes great sense, you need to allow them to say it to you. And then actively take notes so that you can remind yourself of what their stressors are in this. When you do that and you build the relationship, your chance of maximizing your commission become that much greater. We ask this question with every single one of our sellers. And in fact, we ask it with our team members too. I had a team member ask it to me last night because he had to give me some tough feedback. He said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how honest do you want me to be? And I said, dude, hit me with a 10. And we ask our sellers that same thing. How honest do you want me to be in this relationship? You see, we get, by the way, when people answer this, I've never heard anything lower than an 8, but almost every single time it's a 9 or a 10. When you're going to be honest with somebody, you are telling them things that they need to hear and that they don't want to hear. If you're going to win the relationship, don't you have to be the most honest person so that your relationship is founded on truth and trust? I know that some of you are afraid of delivering hard truths to sellers, but your relationship will be stronger when you do it. So please be very, very conscious of that. Okay, we covered building the relationship. Let's go to the next piece. setting the price of the home. When it comes to determine setting the price of the home, I think that making the seller and helping the seller to self-discover and saying the number is what matters. I'm going to come back to this in just a minute if you're taking notes. One of my agents on my team, Tyler, sat me down last week and he said, Eric, dude, I went on a listing appointment and it was in fact a referral from somebody that I had handed to him. I went on a listing appointment and I blew it. I'm like, what do you mean you blew it? He said, well, I went in there and they knew that our commission was a standard of 7%. And so one of the first questions they asked was, hey, what's your commission? Is it like 7%? And he said, yep. And then he moved on. And then she said, okay, what do you think my house is worth? And then Tyler answered and he said, I think at most your house is worth 180,000 bucks. Well, turns out that this referral that I gave him, her number was she didn't want to sell for anything under 185. And because Tyler led with saying, hey, this house is worth 180, he lost her. He, in fact, ended up losing the entire deal, has learned from it. Like, I love that he came to me and he's like, how can I be better? But he gave the number first. And in setting the price, it is not about you giving the number. It's allowing the seller to discover what the market is bearing for their home, taking the emotion out of it and just putting the logic. So I stole this 555 technique. I think it was a Ben Kinney technique that I learned, that you pull up on the MLS. So you pull up on your computer or your iPad or the TV or whatever it may be, or you print off if you're still old school, 5 active, 5 pending, and 5 recently closed comparables. And you show, here's what the market is doing with your competition today. Here's what sold recently, and here's what closed recently. You take a look at the pictures, you take a look at all the details, you take a look at the square footage, the dollar per square foot, and then you say to them, based on what you've seen, what do you believe your house is worth? And allowing them to say, well, I think my house is worth that 185. And then you can say, all right, well, let's put ourselves in the shoes of the buyer, which is the third part. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of the buyer. If the buyer sees that you're at $100 a square foot in your house, but the house across the street is at $95 a square foot, what's going to make them choose your house? See, I'm not telling them that their house is only worth 180. I'm instead asking the question for them to self-discover. And as you do that, the ability for you to have them agree to the price is so much easier than you just telling them a price. And yes, some people will say, and the question came from David Garcia. David, good to have you on here, buddy. He said, the seller will say, well, you're the realtor. What is it worth? That is a great question. And I'm going to get exactly to that. Your house is worth, 3 things are going to determine what your house is worth: the location, the condition, and the marketing. These 3 things: location, condition, and marketing. The location, we can't change any of that. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, who's in charge of condition? And they should hopefully say we are. That's right, 100%. You're in charge of condition and I'm in charge of marketing. It's the only thing that I can control in this. I can guide you on the condition and I can tell you what I think the market is bearing, but I want us to discover that together. I want us to figure out with this, how is the market bringing forth the right price? Based on trend. You know, I live in North Dakota, gang. Like, the seasonality that we have here is huge. Like, 4 houses sell in January and 8 in February and 800 in June. It's just the way that it goes here with being in such a seasonal market. And because of that, I have to pay very close attention to the timing of pricing. And so to David's question, well, you're the realtor, what is it worth? It's a really solid question. And your home is only worth what a buyer will pay for it. And so we're going to look at comparables and active and pendants and determine together what we think is that right price. I want to walk you through all this. Frankly, there's some pricing strategies that happen that are super important. I'll give you an example. Same neighborhood, in fact, houses 2 blocks apart in one of the most desirable neighborhoods in Fargo. I had 2 different agents. One was a seasoned listing agent and one was a new agent doing listings, both on my team. One of them took a property valued it at what he said was $225,000, because what he heard is that uncertainty and interruptions were a big deal to the seller. And so Rob, he jumped in, our listing agent, he jumped in and he said, okay, I think we can price it at, and together they came to the conclusion that 225 was the right price. Because if that price was low, it's going to bring multiple offers and it's going to get your house sold faster and it's going to get more certainty figured out there. And he said, well, I think 225 is about what the market will bear, but if I'm wrong, sure enough, we're going to have somebody else that's going to come in and show us that they're wrong, and they're going to change that price, meaning they're going to pay and compete so that it runs up the price. Well, Rob put it on the market, and in 48 hours, it had 6 offers and sold for $16,000 over the asking price. Cash deal, closing in under 30 days. Does Rob look like a hero here? Oh, hell yeah, he does. One of my other agents listed a house, a referral from me, listed a house in the same neighborhood. The house was probably valued at $235 or $240. The sellers and the agent agreed to list it at $250. And it didn't sell at $250. They lowered the price to $247,500, which I don't think is the right, I mean, lowering the price like 1% doesn't do much. But they tried at $247,500, didn't sell. Tried at $245,000, didn't sell. They're now at $240,000 and it hasn't sold. Remember, I told you I think the right price on the house is $235,000. Well, now the house is sitting on the market and it's been about a month and a half in a vacant house in the right neighborhood. Had they priced it at $235,000 to begin with, it would have been sold like that. But now it's like tainted, right? See, we as realtors maybe know what it's worth. We maybe know what that right price should be. But frankly, uncertainty and interruptions are the biggest pain. And we allow our egos to say, I can get you a little bit more for the house. Our market will get the right price for the house, not us pricing it over what we think it's worth. The market's going to bring it up. Pricing it a little bit on that underside will actually have you look like a hero and not a zero. So moving on here, again, price or location, condition, and marketing. Again, one of my favorite techniques when setting the price for the home is actually getting the price reduction before you list the house. If I went to that $250,000 house, and our average sales price in Fargo, by the way, is about $230,000, so you can just get perspective on where we're at. If I took that $250,000 house and I would say to them, listen, I would ask them, what do you know about the market right now? And if you're anywhere in the United States, as I record this today on August 4th, 2020, you are in a very pressing seller's market, meaning the advantage is to the sellers and not to the buyers. It's just what's happening across our country right now because COVID has just been peculiar with how real estate has been done. Listen, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I think your house is worth around $240,000 or $250,000. And because I think your house is worth $240,000 to $250,000, we're going to do everything we can to maximize that price. And so here's what I would say is let's list at $250,000 if that was actually the right price. Let's list at $250,000. In the first 10 days of your house being listed, I think about 85% of people will see your house through our advertising, through our marketing, through us going and combing our database, through open houses, through yard signs, through all of these other things. We're going to make sure that people see your house as soon as it's listed. Does that sound fair with you? Yeah, Eric, that sounds great. Well, listen, if after 10 days and 85% of people have seen your house, you have 2 choices. You can either hold and hope that that 15% magically wants to buy your house how it currently sits, or you can reintroduce it to the 85% by improving the price. Which do you want to do? How much time do you have? How much stress do you want to deal with? Well, I really want to maximize my dollars. Hey, let me tell you about this situation that happened a couple weeks ago when somebody overpriced the house and they sat on it. Now here it is, they're not going to get the price, and in fact hurts them the longer it sits on the market. Your goal is to get them to want to reduce their price prior to you listing it. Because the moment, wrong button, sorry, the moment that you decide that you are going to list their house, All is logical until the for sale sign goes in the yard, and then it becomes strictly emotional. And so get your price reductions before you list. Show your expertise and your strategy, because yes, you are the realtor and you need to know when to pivot and how to pivot. Every single seller in the history of sellers will say this to you. Listen, there was a showing last week. I know you want to reduce price now, but let's wait and see what that person says. Or I'm not ready to reduce price. I think that there's still good action on the house. You know, like, get it done before you actually get the listing taken. It is super important and one of my favorite tricks. So let's cover battling for commission. We talked about winning the relationship and pricing it right, but we're here to talk about the commission as well. And you're going to see hopefully what we're doing as a company to support the commission that we charge. We love asking questions like you see on the screen here of what does a fantastic relationship look like? What does dropping the ball look like? What expectations do you have for me, and how would I overachieve? You see, your goal in this, as you build the relationship and understand where they come from, is that they identify, I want great marketing. I want great servicing. I want to be treated really well. I want incredible communication. That has given you all of your ammunition after they identify what makes a successful transaction sing the right song to them. You identify all of that. And as you do so, you now know exactly what to say when you're supporting your commission. Exactly what to say. So take a look here. You also need to know your stats. This comes from our listing book. And when we're done with this, I'm actually going to send you a copy of our listing book so you can see the stuff that we're doing. Our numbers support charging a higher commission. 54 days on average for the market, and we're at 35 days on average. The average price on about 97% for the market, and we're 98.4%. So, hey, we're going to sell your house according to stats faster and for more money. Is that valuable for you? Is that important to you? It's actually number 3. They want uncertainty and interruption spoken to first. So first, know your stats. If you don't know your stats and you want to fight for a higher commission, you better know your stats. So I think it's imperative that you show your worth with these 4 areas. Please write this down. You need to be able to clearly articulate why your marketing is exceptional, why your servicing is exceptional, why your expertise is exceptional, and how they're going to get a customized plan. This customized plan, remember, makes them feel as though you are their only client. People don't want a one-size-fits-all, I'm going to do for you what I've done for everybody else. They want to know that they're getting specialized treatment. And that shows by their price range, by their needs, by what it is. They may get the same package as somebody else, but like somebody who has the same waist size and body build as me would wear the same kind of outfit. So let's see here. There was a question I want to make sure I don't. Let me stop my sharing there. David says, what is important to you in the process of selling your home? He asked that question also. Boy, David, that is just such a rock solid question to be able to say, what is important to you? Because you, again, are getting them to identify what it is that you need to emphasize. So let me show you this. This is the marketing that Hatch Realty is doing. Zillow, we spend, with everything you see on the screen here, we're spending between $60,000 and $70,000 a month to market, to make sure that all eyeballs are here. I know that is a big amount of money for some of you that don't have big teams, but you can still paint the same story by talking about what you're doing, because some of this stuff you can get for free and you can hustle. So we talk about Zillow and being featured on Zillow, having awesome reviews, about having more people seek us out because of our reviews. We talk about paying a premium to make sure that our properties get highlighted more. That matters a lot. Ylopo, man, if you're not doing Ylopo right now, we're going to send you a link in an email after this. Ylopo is just so stinking valuable when it comes to retargeting all of the people that are already in your database. You go to buy a new lead, even if it's a pay-per-click lead, gang, it's going to cost you $6 to $15 for a new lead. Ylopo to retarget the people that have already raised their hands in your database is like $1.50. So I like Ylopo an awful lot. And what we do is we say, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we've identified all the people in our database that are looking for a house just like yours. And after we list your home, and we say that we're assuming that we already have the business, after we list your home, we're going to send specific property information directly to those people in our database. And by the way, we have inside sales agents, our ISA team, that is going to be hammering on that database to make sure that your property gets seen by the masses. If I'm sitting here in this conversation, if I'm here talking to you in a listing presentation and my phone rings, I'm not going to take it, right? How rude would that be if I answered my phone when I was talking with you? Well, don't you know it, that all the time people are calling, texting, emailing, and signing up online to look at properties. And you deserve the best. And to make sure that you get that, we have a team of ISAs that's set, ready to go, and they're going to respond to every single lead that comes in, especially the ones that are looking at your property, so that we don't miss any of them when I'm on appointments like these. That one, by the way, is a killer in a presentation. We also are going to advertise your home on the radio. We have massive influence on social media. Between Instagram and Facebook, we have over 10,000 followers, as well as our own YouTube channel. We use professional photography and virtual and drone tours on our stuff. We have great relationships with other agents in the community, as well as we sell a lot of our own listings in-house. So that agent-to-agent relationship matters. We even have a couple of vehicles cleverly called the Hatch mobiles that drive around town and help advertise and market to get more eyeballs on things. We re-engage our over 4,000 past clients all the time throughout the year to make sure that they stay very curious and interactive on what we're doing. We have great property flyers that'll exist inside your house to tell the story. And then, of course, everything that we're doing is to help save kids. And we work with a nonprofit called Sell a Home, Save a Child, something that I created to try to do great good. All those things put a lot of eyeballs on this. Now, here's where the pause is. This is a really important question. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, with everything you saw, is there anything that you thought another agent would be doing or that you've heard another agent would be doing that I'm not? And why that question is so important, and you can phrase that a number of different ways, why that question is so important is because you can hit it with the way to say, we're playing a different game than what other people are playing. That's your goal with marketing. Let me summarize everything I just covered. You want to be able to articulate that you are playing a different game than everybody else. Nobody's playing the same game you are. You are delivering at a higher level of service. Remember, service is what people want. They want to be treated as though they are the only ones that get this, that you are giving them exemplary experiences from top to bottom. And so ask the question, what is my competition doing that I'm not? Because you maybe heard from them already, or maybe you have some expectations. What are they doing that I'm not? Intrinsically, now imagine they sit with that next agent and they say, are you talking about my house on radio? What are you doing with Zillow? And you're giving them the tools and the ammunition to show that, hey, this is how Erik is playing a different story. John asked the question if we're recording this. Yeah, we absolutely are, buddy. And we'll send this out to you when we are done. Okay, so remember, marketing was the first area we want to cover. The second is we talk about servicing. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, my guess is the biggest pains you've heard from people are things like a lack of communication and bad service. Man, I bet you would be so frustrated if that happened in this. Well, here's the team that I've established. Here's the people that I've pulled together so that we make sure that you get unbelievable service at every turn. A listing agent, by the way, that's probably me in this situation. I'm here to help with negotiations. I'm here to help with strategy. I am the doctor, but I am not the nurse in this. My listing partner or coordinator is the nurse in this. He or she will be checking in with you regularly, getting client feedback, answering any questions you have about the process. And when the heavier lifting comes in, I'll be notified, and I'll be part of all this conversation and communication too, through great notes and text messages that we'll all share together. One of the worst things that could happen is if you had me do all the paperwork in this, and my listing partner and my transaction coordinator handle all that to make sure that we keep things buttoned up and we minimize any oh craps. I can't promise that something crummy is going to happen in this, but a lot of times through mistakes in paperwork, it does. And we are minimizing those headaches by having extra eyes and really talented people as number 2 and number 3, they're helping out. We also employ a marketing director and a photographer and a videographer and inside sales agents and event coordinators and runners. And like, you can articulate until you're blue in the face with whatever value you have. But the only way that you can confidently charge more is if you can show how you're servicing and marketing more. It's a really big deal. And so these are the areas that we're doing. I know, and I understand the scope of our team. And you're like, man, I don't have 9 employees. I don't have 9 people that I work with. There's ways that you can break this out and just articulate how your service is different than that of somebody who is just doing it on their own. If you're watching this and you are an independent agent, I'm okay if I give you the things that we're going to say, and you're going to come in and say, well, hey, you don't have to work with 9 different people. I'm the one person that's going to take care of you. And for some people, that's great. For myself, that's on a team, I want to articulate like, I'm not a great transaction coordinator. You deserve better than that. Let me have somebody do that job who's naturally designed to do that job, and I can do what I'm naturally designed to do. So again, if we're battling for commission, we're going to talk about marketing and servicing. I came to my office this morning. I put this together last night and this morning, and I'm at my coaching office. I also have my real estate office in town. I don't have any business cards in my coaching office, but I did have copies of my book. So I took 7 copies of my book, and imagine these are business cards. Because when it comes down to battling for commission, here's how I will articulate it. I'll take 7 business cards and I'll place them just as you see on the screen here. 3 on one side and 4 on the other. Here's the script. And I don't like scripts very much, but this is a practice method. And this also, I believe, is stolen from Ben Kinney back in the day. He did 6, but because we charge 7, we add that in. I want you to know and understand when they say, what's the commission? I want you to know and understand where the commission goes. On the left side here, you see 3 cards. What's standard in our industry is that we pay 3%, that you pay 3% to the agent that brings in the buyer. So that 3% is our market standard. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what do you think the consequences are if we choose not to pay that 3%? Let's say you wanted to pay 2%. And you ask them, what do you think the consequences are? I have a 5 and a 3-year-old at home, and we talk about consequences all the time. And that is a very important conversation to have with grown adults as well, is what are the possible consequences or pitfalls or blind spots if you only pay out 2% when the market average is 3%? And hopefully they will self-discover and they'll say, you know what, I don't know if they'll be as excited to show the house. By the way, let me pause here because this is a super cool strategy I learned from one of my coaching clients. In a market like we find ourselves in today, what she's doing is she's saying on the listing agreement that the agent will determine the co-broke commission that's being paid. So let's say it says 7%, and then usually you have a section that says how much is being paid to the co-broke. It says it is to the agent's discretion. And for the first 30 days, their market average is 3%. For the first 30 days, they're paying out 2.5%. Reason why is because most of those buyers will discover the property not from the help of their agent, but instead because it's in such a demanded market, and they as a listing agency will make more. After 30 days, that listing agent has permission to bring it up to that 3% so that it battles the same. We're flirting with this idea right now on our team, and I really like that idea to flirt with it. David, you asked a question. I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, so type it out again and I will get to it. So I bring that up because there is an opportunity, folks, for you to still only pay out maybe 2.5% and keep more on your side. But I want to articulate this 4 cards, these 4 different things. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're going to pay out that, you just agreed that we need to pay out the 3% to the agent that brings in the buyer so that you have somebody who's a cheerleader for your property and they're excited and speaking for it. Because even the most ethical of agents, if they only get a partial paycheck, will probably not be as excited to sell that property. Would you agree? You get them to say yes. Okay. Now, let me articulate the other 4%. This first business card, this goes to my brokerage. Everybody has a brokerage. They have profit they want to make. They have fees they have to charge. They have insurance and bricks and mortar and all these other things that just go into being a part of a brokerage. It's just a part of the game. Everybody has to pay their brokerage on their transactions. The second card that you see here, this is our marketing. As you just saw, I covered all the different areas in which we market. And you had even told me that nobody markets like we do. Awesome. This third card is for servicing, to make sure that we give you that the customized experience that you want, that we give you the best, over the top, unbelievable servicing, and that I don't have to touch all of these extra things because you wouldn't want me to do so. But fortunately, I already showed you some statistics that say that we're going to get you more money in less time anyways. This fourth card, this last card, the 7th%, this is where I profit as an agent. This is where I make money. And of course, Uncle Sam comes in and he takes half of that anyways, but this is where I make money. And so what questions do you have on commission? And then you wait for questions. If they ask questions, they might say, well, I know somebody else that does it for 5% or for 6%. Awesome. Awesome. I totally get it. Which of these cards do you think they're going to take away from? Are they going to pay out 3%? Because you told me that was really important, right? Remember, because they're the ones that self-discovered. And you say, you told me that it's important to pay the 3%. So that means if they're going to do it at 5, where's it going to come from? We said that they have to pay their brokerage, right? So that card has to stay. Do you think they're going to do work and not profit? Well, they're probably going to profit. And so which are you ready to let go of? Marketing or servicing, or both? And you ask them, you don't tell them, but you ask them, which one are they going to let go of? Or which one are they not going to bring as much to the table for? Because you've already spent the time getting them to agree that this is the most unbelievable listing opportunity that I have and my best chances with you. Now it's just battling for commission. And if you get to this point and they still won't agree to 7%, I want to teach you my final technique. And then please ask some questions, throw some objections out here. I'm almost done, but I want to be able to answer everything that you have as a burning question. My final technique is the feather technique. I'm going to get off that for just a second. Here's what we do. In the feather technique, imagine you're watching Forrest Gump. And Forrest Gump has both the beginning and the end of the movie with a feather that just floats down to the ground, and it goes back and forth and back and forth. That's really what a negotiation is. So in this mythical situation that we've been talking through, let's say I'm able to say, all right, we're 7% plus $4.95 because our transaction fee that we charge is $495 per transaction. But an insider secret is that I care more about the percentage than I do the $4.95. That $4.95 helps us support our admin, and it makes sure that we stay we stay high on the leverage side, because we think that's how we deliver exemplary service. But if our average sales price is $230,000, 0.5% of that is $1,150. $495 is not $1,150. And so we use that as a negotiation piece where we're able to say that. Because if somebody's looking for a deal, sure, we'll cut off the $495 if it gets them at 7%. But let me show you this feather technique, because we have 6 different negotiation points as we do this. We start at the top and we start at 7 plus the $495. If we're negotiating, the first the first concession we'll make is that we'll say, hey, we'll do 7%, but we'll waive that $495. No, I'm not doing 7%. All right, I'm willing to go to 6.5 and $495, because everything's a negotiation. If I can't fight for my money, how can I ever fight for yours? Hell no, Eric, I'm not going to list with you if you're going to charge 6% and $495. Hey, I'm probably going to get a little grief from my broker, but I'll go down to 6.5, and then we'll waive that $495. I'll eat that and pay that for you. So they keep pushing. So you go to 6% and $495. Finally, 6% and no $495. You give yourself 6 different spots in which you can negotiate. Yet here's what most people are doing. If your standard is 6%, you go in and you say, all right, it's 6%. And they'll say, okay, a lot of the time. But if you're exceptional on the service that you deliver and the quality and the marketing, it's okay to charge more because you're spending more, because you're giving more. If you can negotiate and get somebody a better commission than what your market average is, you should charge more because you have more expertise. See, you're at this really, really cool spot. You're at this really, really cool spot to figure out how to win in this business. You can sell more, you can spend less, or you can become more efficient. Transaction fees and commission charges and conversion rates are the three fastest ways I know for you to double your income, triple your income, make so much more money. David has a question here. I've seen sellers pick an agent based on commission because we tell them the market is hot. They don't need all the marketing since supply is low. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I understand that supply is low, and I understand that the market is hot. Do you believe that if somebody just puts a sign in the yard and puts it on the MLS and prays that it sells, that that's going to maximize your dollars? See, I listed a house last week that we did all the marketing, all the servicing, and I got the sellers $20,000 over asking price. Are you interested in having a potential of getting $20,000 over asking price? Because sometimes it's not about what I make, it's about what you make. And in this situation, do you think that agent who just charges you 5 or 6%, do you think they're able to maximize that for you? Do you think they have enough at bats? Do you think they have enough to make sure that the hiccups don't happen? And so it's not about making statements, David, it's about asking questions. And you know what? Frankly, sometimes the market is hot and it is just going to take putting a sign in the yard and putting on the MLS and praying that it sells. Sometimes that's all it takes. But don't our people deserve the best chance at it? Like, if you got to negotiate, negotiate. Don't lose the deal because you're stubborn and you're stuck at 7%. Understand that you need to build a value proposition so high that you can't help but negotiate. Because if you start at 6% in that same situation, you're going to finish at 5. That's the point I want all of you to hear is if the market is so hot and you start at 6% and they say, no, I want to be at 5, well, you're going to end up at 5. If you start at 7% and they want to be at 5, I don't think you're going to end up at 5. You're going to end up at 6, not because you can, but because you're worth it. See, I've sheepishly apologized for far too long about the money that we make in this industry because it's stupid. We get paid a whole lot to do not a lot of work sometimes. And sometimes this game is really easy. And then I look at what I had happen to my team in 2018 and 2019, from the turnover to the lost deals to the loss of profit and everything else. And I worked harder than I ever had in 2019, and my team made less. We sold 635 homes, and we made less than we ever had made before. Because this is all a gamble, what we do. It's high risk, it's high reward. And sometimes it's really fruitful, and sometimes it's not. I'm okay reaping a good harvest, and I'm unapologetic about it, even though I've had wealth guilt in the past. I'm at the point now where I know the value that I bring, and I'm playing a different game than what everybody else is playing. And when you start believing that you are playing a different game than what everybody else is playing, you're the guy selling the Rolls Royce when everybody else is driving a Geo. They're all in Toyotas and Saturns, and you're driving a Rolls Royce, and people want to be a part of that. So that's how we get to 7% listing commission most of the time. If you have questions, keep firing them at, but otherwise I'm going to look to wrap here. I want to share with you a couple of things. If you are watching this live or recent to this, we are doing some big things with Hatch Coaching right now. One of the first things we're doing is we have a Hatch training package. If you go to hatchcoaching.com right now, you'll see the training package that we have. We have literally taken my training for how to build a real estate team. We've taken Robbie's training on the ultimate guide to lead conversion, building up some massive things. And we've made video modules that are available for you to train your team, to emphasize all these things. A lot of this listing stuff I just covered in some of that training module, as well as how to deal with conflict and how to hire right and how to get your P&L in the right order. All these really great things. Robbie's the most talented lead conversion guy in the industry, hands down. And he's built some modules that'll allow you to scale your business on a massive level, especially working with have-not-mets. So those are available and for sale on just a monthly charge. So you can bail at any time, but I don't think you should ever bail. Anyways, those are available at hatchcoaching.com. Also, I want you to check out Ylopo if you're not doing it, because it is the best thing you can do to your database. We'll put a link in the email that I'll send out to you. COVID pending, we're planning on gathering in Fargo in about a month and a half for our annual Hatch Coaching Summit. It is like the coolest event of the year. Some of you watching right now have already signed up, which is really great. It is such a cool experience. Takes place in Fargo, September 23rd through the 25th. We're going to give you $100 off discount code if you sign up here with this, because we want to save you some money and we want you to sign up. We also have a few other things, other webinars and things coming your way, so be sure to keep a lookout for that. And then we are going to give you a discount on some things that we have in our marketplace too, because we just want you to check out things that you can do to help train and make your team better. With that, I don't see other questions, so I guess I covered it. God bless you. Thanks for being with us. And again, thanks for taking the time.